Welcome everybody to the one and only side quest and skill trees, where healing meets gameplay. So in every R&B, let's start over. Welcome to side quests and skill trees, where healing meets gameplay. In every great RPG, I said that right? RPG. I was thinking of Rocket.
Yes,
I was
yes.
thinking of Rocket. Okay. Yeah, I was like, is that healthy to say that?
Role-playing game.
Alright. Welcome to Side Quests and Skill Trees, where healing meets gameplay. So in every great RPG, the main quest matters. But the side quest is where you gather what you didn't know you needed. Insight, allies, resources, and reps. So here, side quests are the optional tasks you choose in real life. Small missions that build momentum without burning you out. And skill trees are the essential skills you level up on purpose. So, emotional regulation, communication, boundaries, rest, courage, self trust. So, your life actually plays better. Optional tasks, essential skills. So, let's level up.
Side quest and skill tree, playing with heart, not urgency. Heal in the margins, grow with ease. Optional tasks, essential skills. Let's level
Up. And I got my homie with me, King Kai.
How's it
Shout out to
going?
the crowd.
How you doing?
So, we decided to have a really cool document of information. Like we do a lot of work, research, we read a lot on mental health, but there's two things I want to talk about. What's the game we're playing today, and what's the topic we're doing today?
Yep. So we are. Let me switch over to it. We are going to be playing a game called Downwell. As soon as it decides to pop up on the screen here. There we go. All right. So we are playing Downwell today. This is like a 2D action platformer where you literally are just falling down a well infinitely, randomly generated levels, and you get power-ups, you get upgrades, and the idea is just to
you get
go.
power downs if you're only falling down the hill.
But yeah, so it's a weird game. You get a little like foot cannon, and that's how you defeat enemies.
Interesting.
And the topic today is, how do I know it's mental illness?
Wow. So that's very aligned with this game. Did you plan that?
I mean, every time we play these, that's very much kind of what I'm going for, is trying to figure out how do I incorporate a game that kind of at least has some semblance of connection or something. So in my head, I was like, oh, going down like the rabbit hole kind of thing. That was kind of my thought process here.
There's nothing like a good moment of being honest with mental health.
Yes. So yeah, so that is kind of the topic today. Obviously, a lot of times there's moments that pop up where maybe a question is like, is this a mental illness? Is this a physical health thing that's happening? I can talk very much about kind of my own experience with something like that, where I had what I thought was a heart attack and ended up being a panic attack. So how do we kind of figure out the difference and see what's actually going on?
Yeah. I'm wondering, so a lot of times people don't always see. Well, let's start from the beginning here. I hate to say this. Have you ever Googled your own symptoms at 2 a.m.? Yes.
Who hasn't?
No?
Who hasn't in this day and age? Seriously. It's like one of the biggest gripes of doctors is that we Google our symptoms. Then, it is both helpful and detrimental to our health, both physical and mental.
And I hate to say this, a lot of us sometimes don't know if what we're feeling is serious enough to get help. Because we've been so tolerant of doing everything ourselves, so tolerant of, well, I'll make it work, well, I'll make it happen, well, I'll make it, very, very focused on, well, I know how to do this, well, I know how to do that, well, I know how to, okay, we know that you know how to do this, we know that you have been through a lot, we know that you've suffered, but it doesn't mean that there's no threshold and be like, okay, now I need mental health. Now I need help, right? And some people come to mental health for very simple things. Some people come for complex things. The whole point is, it's something that you know you need because there's actually a disruption in your daily life. And I think a lot of us don't know our own threshold of when it's appropriate to receive mental health services.
Well, and I think you made a really good point there of saying it's kind of when it becomes detrimental. And like that's always something I think is really hard to for some people to kind of like define. So like, let's get an example like somebody who's a high functioning drug user, high functioning neurodivergent person. Like they're still able to function completely, like they're able to get their work done, but then they're just maybe they have some kind of thing that just it's not causing any like apparent immediate concerns, but through over time starting to kind of realize like, oh, there's kind of an issue here. But especially when we're looking at like diagnosing and stuff like that, it really does kind of come down to the point of, is it making daily function harder or unable to happen?
Yeah. So you may or may not like this shift I'm gonna do, Kyle.
Go for it.
But just follow me, okay?
All right.
So I just want to be very clear about some things. So first off, mental illness isn't a personality flaw. It's not being, it's not praying enough or not trying hard enough. It's a pattern of thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and when they persist, it causes a disruption in how you function in life. And the clinical magic word, right? The clinical magic word is functional impairment. Is what you were talking about, right? We call it functional impairment. It's not just I feel bad, but this is making it hard to live my life.
Right.
And if we had that type of sensitivity to mental health, it would change how therapists are valued as well, right? How many times have you said, what I'm going through is making my life hard to live? That's mental illness. And a very great mentor is, what's his name? Oh my God. Big Brother Jermaine. He's an amazing therapist, great couples therapist. He's one of my favorite therapists. And he told me, he said, Will, you can only live one reality. The moment you try to live more than one reality is when illness sets in. And that blew my mind because I have like 6 realities. So I was like, well, how ill am I? So I'm so for my viewers out here, get your purpose paper and purpose pen because I have a beautiful question for you to write down and talk about. The first question is, what did your family teach you, spoken or not, about mental health? Think about how I asked that. What did your family teach you, spoken or not. So some of you may have witnessed it but never talked about it. About mental health. That's the first one.
Yeah.
And the second one is, what's a message you received about getting help that you're still unlearning? I want us to answer that one together. Do you want to start or want me to start?
You can start with that one.
Okay. So, what's a message you received about getting help that you're still unlearning? I always learned that if you help somebody, you're going to owe them later. So make sure you pay them back immediately after you get your help. I was taught that if someone helps you, boy, you better pay that back, give it back, give them a food basket.
With interest.
Yeah, like, give it back with interest, because the moment you inconvenience someone doing what they got to do, you got to make it worth their time. Yeah. Which made me learn that I'm not worth people's time. That's wild, right? Like, and I'm not saying that people don't find me worthless, but it's my presence has a cost if I don't have my stuff together. Mm-hmm. And so that was hard. That was a hard lesson for me. You know, that was a hard lesson for me. Yeah. How about you?
You know, I think for me, it's very much, and this is just because of past experience and stuff like that, very much like this mindset of like, I need to unlearn like my own threshold of I have asked for help to the point where I'm just going to do it myself now, rather than just continuing to seek help. So there's kind of like this mindset of like, I do, and then I'll ask, for help from a couple different sources, and if I don't get the help that I need or want, I kind of just go like, fine, I'll do it myself, kind of thing. Rather than continuing to look and seek for assistance and help. And I think that was something that kind of happened when we were trying to do a multimedia startup. Was that very much like I just kind of been like, I'm just going to do it all myself. And so that's something I'm still trying to learn myself. Relying on others for help rather than giving up on it and trying to just do it myself.
So I want to give a skill tree. I'm trying to be better at this now. So a skill tree I think would be helpful is 4 signs it's more than just a bad week. Someone was like, I had a bad week. I had a case of the Mondays this week, So the first one is duration. It's been going on for weeks, not just a few rough days. Usually when you're actually feeling it in your body, in your exhaustion, it means your body can't fight the resilience anymore, right? Like, the resilience is dying out. So, like, you've been dealing with it, it's just you didn't realize that your body was fighting so well. The next one is ubiquity, right? It's showing up everywhere. Work, relationships, sleep, self-care. So you realize that a lot of your issues and disruptions are not just at home, it's starting to be at work, relationships, you're not caring for yourself. It's everywhere. The next one is resistance. It's your usual coping moves aren't working anymore. So what used to work out for you is no longer working.
I was going to bring that one up.
Yeah. But yeah, and the last one is escalation. It's getting more intense or more frequent over time. And for me, I can always tell when I'm stressed by 2 ways. I isolate more and I buy more things.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, why am I buying this? Why did I put this on Afterpay? I did not need to put this on Afterpay. It's that impulse. It's an impulse buy, right? It's the thought of relief becomes more important than the actual accountability of relief itself. So that's one of my biggest ones. What about you?
The other thing I was also going to say, like, once you feel like the things that normally help aren't helping, definitely The other thing that I think, and I feel like as a field are trying to be better, is, especially if, say, it's physical symptoms, making sure that you're having your primary care doctor, getting yourself physically checked out too, because sometimes it may seem like it's something mental, when in reality it is something physical. So, kind of tackling it from all avenues, and kind of really seeing, is this just something that's mentally going on, or is this something that actually is physical? So again, going back to my own example of like thinking I was having a heart attack, in reality I was just having a panic attack. Getting the information of like it's not physical, then at least allowed me to have that mindset of it must be mental then. So time to address that. So that would be the one that like I focused on. Aside from you find that everything is getting harder to do, and you feel like you can't do the things that worked previously, for sure.
So, and we're not here to self-diagnose, right? We're here to recognize patterns. And so you know what to name when you walk into a therapist's office or a doctor's appointment, right? So, for instance, like let's talk about a diagnosis: depression. People say, "Oh, yeah, I'm depressed today." For us, that means a lot of things, right? It's not just sadness. It's a persistent of flatness, low energy, losing interest in things, brain fog, sometimes sleeping too much or too little, right? Anxiety disorders. It's worry that won't quit, right? The physical symptoms might be tight in your chest and your stomach, racing heart, avoidance, right? That's shrinking your world, right? ADHD is not just kids who can't sit still, right? It's especially with adults with ADHD, it often shows up as like chronic disorganization or emotional dysregulation or inconsistent performance and a deep shame about not getting it together. Oh, I just can't get my life together. It's not because you need to do more Pilates.
Right.
You have ADHD.
Right.
Like, put down the Pilates. Go to a therapist. Then you go back to the Pilates with a conscious intention, right? Yes. And as Americans, especially, we're taught to outperform our illnesses.
Right.
That's what kills us so much.
You're taught that we need to be perfect.
Yes. And also, like, let's talk. Everybody talks about PTSD or complex traumas. It's not just war veterans. Flashbacks, hypervigilance, emotional numbness, being triggered by things that seem random. Because your nervous system's like, yo, I don't know what this is. I don't trust it. We're going to 100. And you're sitting there eating a sandwich, right? Your nervous system has not been talked to or seen or regulated, right? Like no one says, hey, let's go work out our nervous system today. No one says, who has told you, hey, let's go work out our nervous system today? Right? So we don't even have a social language to acknowledge the emotional disruption in our lives, right? And bipolar disorder, people are just saying, oh, my friend, they're bipolar because they're doing too much. Okay, it's not just mood swings.
Right.
It's distinct episodes of elevated or depressed moods that affect functioning, right? And I think it's important that we start like creating a real language around these really big words that describe someone in so many different ways.
Yeah, and I think I agree 100%. And that's why like one of the big things I do try to do in sessions with clients is trying to work on a shared language. And so like utilizing different skills or techniques and encouraging those clients of like, hey, if you have like a partner or if you have family that you live with or something like that, you don't need to tell the details of what the session was about, but these skills are something that you can share with them, saying, I learned about this skill in therapy today. This is something we can both use, we can all use, and it gives us shared language to say, like, I think we've talked about the stop skill before. So like stop skill, like, you know, if someone learns that, but then they don't tell their partner about it, and then they have an anxiety attack, their partner doesn't know what to do to help. So if you give them that information of like, hey, I learned this in therapy today, and then that person that has an anxiety attack, the partner can say like, hey, let's use that stop skill you were talking about. Giving that shared language so that you can not only help yourself, others can help, and you can help them.
I like that a lot. And I think just staying focused with what we're talking about, you know, how do I know it's mental illness? It's an illness when when you feel like you can't be in your own truth. If I had to keep it simple, if you can't be honest with who you are in that moment, it's probably an illness. And it's like, well, how deep does that go? And how simple can that be? If you're in a moment where someone says something very awkward or harmful to you, and it hurts you, you could say, hey, I didn't like the way that sounded because it made me feel really bad. Most of us, well, a majority of people wouldn't say that openly. They'd be like, oh, and then go talk to somebody about it, right? Why not resolve the issue in the time, in the moment, right there? Right? And I'm not saying that's an illness, but the illness comes from what made you shrink to make you feel like your words didn't have a place in that disruption. When did you feel the imbalance of power when someone said something that they felt? Why didn't you say how you felt?
And a lot of that boils down to a lot of people have a really tough time. And I feel like it's becoming worse. People have a hard time with confrontation and conflict. And so, you know, I talk a lot about like discomfort sessions and how therapy is meant to be a safe place, but not necessarily an uncomfortable place. We will talk about things that are uncomfortable. We will talk about things that you don't want to talk about because that's part of the process. Change doesn't happen in comfort.
Yes.
Change is uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable is okay and normal, as it is part of change. So trying to kind of get that mindset of like, well, I don't want to have confrontation. Right. That's confrontation and discomfort is part, and it's okay to experience those things. It's really about how you learn to deal with it.
Oh, I love that you said that. And I think if I had to tell people how to understand mental illness, I would let them know that the way you don't identify it makes it worse, right? And so it's essential. It's essential to actually give it a life. Give your mental illness a life. So the question you should be asking yourself, so at the top of your page, you should say, write the illness that you think you have, right? And then ask these simple 4 questions. 1, how long has this been showing up? Days, weeks, months. 2, is it affecting more than one area of your life? Use the Washington Wellness Wheel. Go to the website, healawake.org, and look at the different ways that it might be affecting your life. Physically, emotionally, socially, environmentally, educationally, spiritually, financially, occupationally, right? 3, have your usual coping skills stop working, right? So what were your typical coping skills to make things better? And if it's not, why? Why aren't they better? Why aren't they making them better? And then lastly, number 4, is it getting worse over time? Not better. And if you answered yes to 2 or more, right? That's not a diagnosis. That's a signal worth exploring with a professional. Not because something's wrong with you, it's because you've got enough self-awareness to take the next step. Right. My number 1 rule in therapy, my golden rule, the golden rule, if you don't learn anything from this podcast of 2 amazing people, it's With self-awareness comes emotional responsibility. That's my golden rule. I live by it. I love it. I will die by the sword on it. With self-awareness comes emotional responsibility. If you went through those 4 questions and you could acknowledge at least some of that, 2 of those questions, then you are emotionally responsible to exploring with the profession.
Yeah, I usually like to go for the G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle mindset.
Wait, we edited that though, right?
We may have talked about that before, yeah. So yeah, knowing is half the battle, the other half is, the actual action change. So.
Yeah, knowing is half the battle, but doing it is the war, right? That was stupid. No, please, I don't know if you can edit that out, but please.
Doing the work is the other half,
No,
yeah. Change is the other half, absolutely. You're right, though.
I might look at our podcast episode, and I always say things recorded I shouldn't say. Oh, okay. Wow. Well, okay. So, Kyle, I have, before we leave, I have 1.5 more things to say. All right? When you play this game,
yeah,
what makes it so aligned with knowing it's a mental illness? How does this game align with that?
So, in my mind, the way that I kind of was thinking when thinking this was there's this kind of perpetual hole that you are falling down in this game. There are enemies, obviously, that you're fighting, trying to survive as you keep going down. There are times where, you start over and back to the top. There are times where you find yourself kind of pacing through a part of the level slowly. There's a part where you just fall really fast for really far amounts. And I feel like that kind of all can line up with what we've been talking about. Like, there's those moments where, okay, I'm handling this right now, but here comes the long fall, and I have no control right now about what happens there. And those are those moments where it's like, okay, it's starting to get to a point where I'm having difficulty controlling this situation. Then maybe that's where we need to think about, is this something that needs to be addressed? Whether it be, again, looking at the mental aspect, the physical aspect, environmental, whatever it may be. I also think it's a good kind of going down the rabbit hole. Like, again, how many times do you just Google symptoms and the rabbit hole that comes with that? So I feel like there was kind of some multiple things that I kind of saw in the game.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Neville? I don't know if you've played this before or seen it before, but what are your thoughts?
No, as I'm watching it, it really does feel like mental illness. I feel like a lot of times we feel like we're trapped between 2 walls in life. Who we've been conditioned to become and who we have to be for ourselves. And we're always like navigating left and right between that. And there's some things that we've been conditioned by that do help us, right? Like, There's a reason why my family lived this long. Obviously, there are some behaviors that have allowed us to survive, but then there's also some things that you have to recreate on your own because this generation has changed. The expectations are different, the language is different, right? The values have changed. And as you go down this path, you do meet a lot of different items that can either restore you or take away from you. And you have to be reminded that you do have to come back home sometimes to go forward again. And it's interesting how, as far as you keep going down the path of life, you really do revisit things that are actually really familiar. And in mental illness, a lot of times trauma chases familiarity. And so there is a comfort in darkness because it gets so familiar that you're more likely to chase the thing that you're familiar of, right? So, or familiar with. So I think that this game really does personify mental illness because there's also this gratification. The further you go down, things do get better over time, and that despair is only temporary, right? So, and the uncertainty is temporary as well too. So I just want to leave with one last thing. I just want our viewers to understand that mental illness isn't a game over, right? It's really a hard level, and hard levels have been clear before. And today, I want to say that you leveled up. See how I brought that back, Kyle?
Yeah, there we go.
And you know how to recognize signs. You name the patterns, recognize the sign, and then choose your next move, right? Optional tasks, essential skills. That's how we play this game of mental health. And I wanted this topic so much because there's so much information now online about mental health, but no one has created a space to just understand, like, is this illness or is it just I'm having a bad day? Right, so I'm hoping that watching this kind of gave you an idea on how to start becoming a little more emotionally articulate about knowing what is the illness you're dealing with and what's just having a bad day.
Absolutely. Yep, and then, I think another big thing that, again, it's okay to be uncomfortable, and learning to be okay with discomfort is probably one of the biggest things to understand when trying to look for help, because it can be uncomfortable. Just to say that you have something you need to get addressed, that can be uncomfortable. So change happens in discomfort, which does not happen. That would be my opinion right here.
And for me, disappointment isn't that disappointing when it means you're asking for a better life.
See how much further. I've got one health left, so we'll see how much further.
I was gonna say, I kind of didn't want to end. I was like, is he gonna make it? I was like, really, I really want to see what happens here, but I just, I think this was a perfect game for this, and we'll go live, this week or next week, so people can follow back up on this topic. We can have more active engagement about that, because I think this topic is really nice. Dang.
There it goes.
But yeah. Well, y'all, thank you so much. Stay tuned next time for side quests and skill trees, and remember, level up. That work? Is that good?
That works. All right.
Okay. Yes.
And he'll just, there he goes, off screen. I don't know.